Deep beneath the dust of forgotten continents lie secrets so old, so impossible, and so unsettling that even today's scientists refuse to fully accept them. These aren't just ruins or artifacts. They are fingerprints of something ancient, something powerful, something the world was never meant to uncover. Today, we dive into the forbidden ancient mysteries science still can't explain. It begins with a carved stone found on a windswept plateau, its markings far older than the civilizations we credit with invention. The surface is smooth, too smooth, etched with precision lines that match no known tool marks. Archaeologists first believed it to be a hoax. But carbon deposits trapped beneath the carvings revealed a truth no one wanted: the stone was cut thousands of years before humans supposedly mastered agriculture. Who shaped it? And where did their knowledge go? Across the world, another anomaly rises from the sand, a temple complex aligned perfectly with the stars, yet built at a time when humans were not supposed to understand celestial motion. The pillars cast shadows that fall at exact angles only during equinox sunrise, as if the builders measured the heavens with tools more accurate than modern replicas. One researcher quietly admitted that the alignments were so exact, we would need laser equipment to replicate them today. But how could ancient hands, without metal or mathematics, achieve such cosmic precision? Deep under a collapsed mountain ridge, explorers found a tunnel system that should not exist. The walls are smooth, as if melted by extreme heat. But there are no signs of fire, no soot, no ventilation. Geologists insisted it was natural. But inspection revealed microscopic striations, a pattern resembling controlled machining. A forbidden theory emerged: perhaps the mountain was tunneled deliberately, using methods beyond our understanding. If so, who had this technology thousands of years before recorded history? On a remote island surrounded by storm-broken waves, a colossal statue stands alone. Not the famous ones tourists know, this one was never meant to be found. Hidden beneath layers of earth, the figure's eyes are hollow, staring upward as if frozen in terror. Tool marks suggest it was carved in a single continuous motion. That should be impossible. Stone of that density fractures with even the slightest uneven pressure. And yet the statue is flawless. Smooth. Almost unnatural. Locals whisper that it was not carved, but revealed, as if the stone had been peeled away like soft clay. Thousands of miles away, a desert ruin holds even stranger secrets. A ceremonial chamber lies buried beneath centuries of sand, its ceiling filled with symbols no linguist can identify. They resemble constellations, yet do not match any pattern visible from Earth today. Some align only with star positions from tens of thousands of years ago, long before human civilization was believed to exist. If these symbols chart the sky, who charted it during an age when humans were supposedly still roaming as hunter-gatherers? Just as baffling is a set of polished discs found in a sealed cave. Each is engraved with spirals that loop inward, intersecting at perfect mathematical ratios. When scanned, their curves align with frequencies, tones, that resonate like musical notes. Some researchers believe the discs were meant to be played, not read. They emit a strange hum when rotated. A vibration that feels almost alive. Were they instruments? Communication devices? Or something far more advanced? In a valley once drowned by monsoon rains, archaeologists unearthed a staircase leading nowhere. Each step is identical in width, height, and depth. But something impossible stands out: the edges remain sharp, as if carved days ago, not thousands of years. Erosion should have softened them. Wind should have worn them down. But these steps resist time. Some scientists quietly theorize the stone was treated, hardened through a method we have never seen. A lost technology that modern chemistry still cannot replicate. And then there is the forbidden chamber beneath the ruins of a forgotten kingdom. The entrance was sealed with a stone so heavy that even cranes struggled to lift it. Inside, the walls pulse with color when light touches them, swirls of red and gold that shimmer like liquid metal. Analysis revealed the pigment is not from Earth. Or at least, not from any known source. The composition does not match any mineral catalogued by science. Whoever created this had access to materials, or knowledge, that should not exist. Another enigma rises from the frozen lands of the north. Hidden under miles of ice lies a circular structure of massive stone slabs arranged with mechanical precision. The design resembles gears, interlocking, rotating elements carved in solid rock. But what were they meant to move? And why is the entire complex magnetically active? Instruments malfunction near it. Compasses spin wildly. Even animals avoid the area. Some believe the site once generated energy, an ancient machine lost beneath the ice long before humans settled the region. In a sunburnt canyon, a monolithic doorway stands alone, carved into a cliff face so precisely that even a razor blade cannot fit between its edges. The doorway leads nowhere, no tunnels, no chambers, nothing behind it. But the stone shows signs of intense heat, as if something once passed through it. Legends speak of a portal carved by a civilization that vanished overnight, leaving only a gateway to nowhere as their final message. And far beneath the ocean's surface, where sunlight never reaches, explorers found a structure that defies all logic. Perfectly straight blocks form a staircase descending into darkness. Marine growth reveals the stones were cut before they sank, meaning the site predates the last melting of the ice caps. That places it far beyond the earliest known civilizations. Sonar scans suggest the steps continue deeper than divers can reach. What lies below remains hidden, for now. But perhaps the most forbidden discovery of all is a relic found half buried in volcanic ash. A sphere carved with such precision that it matches the perfection of modern machining. Its surface holds tiny grooves that spiral mathematically, like data encoded in stone. Some believe it contains information. Others think it was a tool. Or a message. Or a warning. Whatever it is, it should not exist. Yet it does. Each of these mysteries pushes against the boundaries of what we believe possible. They challenge our timelines, our science, our understanding of human origins. Were ancient civilizations far more advanced than we think? Did they possess lost technologies? Lost knowledge? Or were they not alone? The truth remains buried, hidden in stone, in shadow, in the ruins of empires that time tried to erase. And until we uncover it, the questions remain. Who built these wonders? How did they do it? And what else lies waiting beneath the earth, forbidden and undiscovered? Hidden in the highlands where mist clings to the earth and the air tastes of minerals, there lies a lake so still and so dark that locals call it, the sleeping mirror. From above, it looks ordinary, a small body of water surrounded by reeds and low hills. But the moment someone steps near its edge, the lake does something no natural water should ever do. It records every movement. Not on the surface, but beneath it. The phenomenon was first noticed by shepherds who saw faint glowing lines forming under the water whenever an animal approached. These lines followed the creature's path, step by step, even though the animal was walking on land. The impressions glowed like embers beneath the surface, spreading outward in delicate patterns, swirling like ink inside glass. They remained visible for several minutes, then faded silently back into the depths, leaving the water black and perfectly still. When scientists arrived, they assumed it was bioluminescent algae reacting to vibration. But when divers entered the lake, they found something impossible. The ground beneath the water was covered with thin, translucent sheets of mineral glass, layered like pages of a book. When someone approached the shore, these sheets vibrated, not from footsteps, but from the person's presence, detecting even the slight shift of air or body heat. As they vibrated, they emitted faint light through microscopic fissures in the mineral, creating ghostly lines that traced the visitor's path. The deeper the divers went, the stranger the lake became. The mineral sheets grew thicker, more complex, arranged like overlapping circuits. The patterns pulsed faintly, as if the lake itself were breathing. In the central basin, nearly 30 meters down, divers found an enormous circular platform made of the same crystalline material, a massive polished disc as smooth as ice but warm to the touch, glowing faintly with internal light that flickered like a heartbeat. There was no sign of any known civilization that could have created such a structure. The mineral itself did not match any natural formation in the region. In fact, its composition did not resemble any geological process on Earth. Some scientists quietly suggested it was manufactured, artificially grown, shaped, and placed with deliberate intent. But the real enigma lay in what the platform did. When a diver placed their hand on the disc, a ripple of light moved across its surface, slow, deliberate, intelligent. The glow traveled outward into the mineral layers beneath the lake, tracing patterns that resembled complex waveforms. It responded to pressure, temperature, even the diver's heartbeat. It behaved less like stone, and more like a memory device. Was this lake once a vast recorder of movement, sound, or presence? A map that documented everything that approached it? A warning system? A sensor? Or perhaps something much older and far more advanced, a technology designed to study, observe, or store information over millennia? Local legends speak of an age when the water watched the people, and the earth listened to the sky. Some claim the lake was created by builders who walked without shadows, beings neither human nor entirely physical. Others believe it marks the site of a lost city, drowned long before recorded history. Modern researchers remain divided. The lake defies geological classification. The material beneath it behaves like stone, metal, and crystal all at once. And the glowing patterns that trace every footstep continue to behave with eerie precision, as if the lake is still performing an ancient function long after its creators vanished. But the most unsettling part is this. When researchers mapped the lake's glowing patterns over time, they discovered that it doesn't just record movement. It also records stillness, marking shapes that stand near its edge even when nothing is visibly there. Some nights, the lake draws long, human-shaped outlines along the shore. Even when no one is present. The 20-meter enigma. Even deeper in the forgotten corners of the world, another enigma whispers through crumbling stone. In a region once believed uninhabited during the ancient past, researchers stumbled upon a series of geometric carvings etched across a barren cliff face. Perfect circles, intersecting lines, and repeating patterns span over 20 meters, as if drawn by a hand guided with machine-like precision. But there's something even stranger. The geometry matches advanced mathematical ratios humanity supposedly discovered only a few centuries ago. When specialists attempted to recreate the carvings, even laser cutters failed to maintain such exact curves. Were these markings a code? A map? Or a forgotten language from a civilization far more advanced than history will allow? High in a mountain range where the air turns thin and silence clings to the rocks, a chamber lies hidden behind a waterfall. The entrance is narrow, barely visible, but what sits inside shifts the boundary between myth and reality. On the chamber floor lies a slab of stone carved with an image, an ancient symbol depicting a creature with wings, eyes like stars, and a crown of fire. The carving predates the earliest known cultures in the region by thousands of years. Even more baffling, traces of pigment found in its grooves contain minerals not naturally present anywhere near the mountains. Whatever the symbol represents, ancient people traveled impossibly far, or acquired materials through means we cannot yet understand. In another part of the world, a colossal monolith lies half buried in a swamp, its surface polished like a mirror despite centuries of decay. The stone's reflection shows something unsettling. Objects appear slightly displaced, as if the stone bends light in ways normal surfaces do not. Scientists measuring the monolith discovered it emits a faint electromagnetic pulse, steady, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Nature does not craft stone with such properties. So who shaped it? And what purpose did it serve? Within a jungle overgrown with roots and vines, an abandoned platform sits beneath layers of earth. At first glance, it appears ordinary. But beneath the soil lies a series of metallic rods arranged in parallel lines, each rod composed of an alloy unknown to metallurgy. When tapped, they vibrate softly, producing harmonic tones, tones that resonate through the surrounding stone. The vibrations affect wildlife, causing birds to flee and insects to fall silent. Some claim the platform was once a communication device. Others believe it was a form of energy transmission lost to time. Whatever its purpose, it was built with knowledge we cannot explain. Near a dried riverbed, explorers uncovered fragments of a strangely shaped vessel carved from a single block of limestone. Its curved structure resembles a boat, yet it has no place for paddles, no signs of wear, and no burn marks from ancient sealing materials. Instead, its underside is lined with symmetrical grooves that fit no known method of travel. But the most curious discovery came when researchers scanned its interior. Residual magnetic signatures form a pattern, as if the vessel once levitated, suspended above ground rather than moving through water. At the edge of a wind-swept desert, a buried chamber contains a set of figurines carved with astonishing detail. Each figure depicts a human-like form, but with elongated skulls, unusually large eyes, and hands with 6 fingers. Initially dismissed as stylized art, deeper examination revealed something troubling. The proportions match no known species, yet the craftsmanship is too lifelike to ignore. The creators were trying to represent something real. Something they saw. Something, or someone, that walked among them. Far beneath the earth, in a cavern untouched by sunlight, explorers found a black stone obelisk standing perfectly upright. The obelisk resonates when approached, as if reacting to human presence. The closer one gets, the stronger the vibration becomes, humming deep inside the chest. Researchers remain divided, some say it's natural resonance, others swear it feels deliberate. What's certain is that the obelisk had to be placed there, transported through tunnels too narrow for such weight, carved from material sourced from a quarry hundreds of miles away. A feat impossible for any known ancient culture. And on a storm-battered coastline, a rocky cliff holds an inscription unlike any other. Letters carved with impossible precision form a script that no historian can decipher. But what unsettles experts most is not the content, it's the age. The inscription predates the earliest written languages by tens of thousands of years. Human writing, as we know it, shouldn't exist at this time. Yet here it is, mocking everything we think we know about civilization's timeline. Some believe the letters are the remnants of a lost world, erased by catastrophe. Others think they represent an ancient warning carved for future generations, one we still cannot read. Each of these discoveries challenges the limits of human history, pushing us to question everything we've been taught. Are these the remnants of forgotten cultures with advanced knowledge? Evidence of civilizations wiped out before recorded time? Or traces of something far older, far stranger, and far more intelligent than our species? Until we decipher these forbidden relics, the past will keep its secrets. But one day, something buried beneath stone or sand will emerge, something that forces the world to rewrite everything from the beginning. Deep in the heart of a desert where nothing grows and no river flows, explorers found a cavern that should have been swallowed in darkness. And yet, when they stepped inside, the cave glowed with a soft, bluish light as if the stone itself remembered the sun. No torches. No openings. No mirrors. Just cold rock radiating a silent, impossible luminosity. At first, scientists thought it was bioluminescent fungus. But when they scraped the walls, the glow did not fade. They tested for minerals that emit natural light, yet none of the known elements matched the spectrum captured inside the cavern. It was as though the illumination was not produced by light, but by memory. As if the stone remembered being forged in the presence of something radiant, something not of this world. The walls were covered in tiny crystalline structures arranged in repeating patterns. Hexagons merging into spirals, spirals dissolving into waves, waves forming perfect geometric grids. When examined under a microscope, each crystal had an internal structure resembling microcircuits, miniature pathways branching like electrical lines. Not random. Not natural. Designed. One researcher joked, "It looks like the cave walls are storing information." But the deeper they went, the less it felt like a joke. Because deeper inside the chamber, the light grew stronger, not dimmer. As if the heart of the cave was the source. Instruments malfunctioned. Compasses spun. And the solid rock vibrated at a frequency too low for the human ear, but strong enough to make the chest tighten. At the very center lay a single monolith, smooth as glass and pulsing with a faint heartbeat-like glow. No inscriptions. No erosion. No cracks. When touched, it felt warm. Alive. As if reacting to human presence. The strangest discovery was made by accident. A researcher walked in front of the monolith holding a metal tool, and its shadow split into 2. Then 3. Then 4. As if the light inside the cave was bending reality itself, creating impossible shadows that should not exist in three-dimensional space. What was this cave? A natural anomaly? A forgotten shrine? A relic of a civilization that understood light in ways we still cannot imagine? Or something far older, left behind by hands that were not human? To this day, the cavern remains sealed. Not because of danger, but because every time scientists tried to take a piece of the glowing crystal outside, the light died instantly, as if whatever power sustained it existed only in that chamber, in that exact location, untouched by time. What force illuminated the cavern for thousands of years without fire, sun, or electricity? And why did someone, or something, build a monolith at its core? Perhaps some mysteries were never meant to be removed from the darkness that protects them. Beneath 600 meters of freezing Pacific water, where sunlight dies and pressure crushes steel, lies a structure no one expected to find. A labyrinth of stone corridors carved into the ocean floor itself, perfectly straight passages stretching for kilometers, intersecting at angles too precise to be natural. No coral. No erosion. No randomness. Just geometry in a place where geometry should not exist. Divers who first found it thought it was a natural trench. But as they swam deeper into the dark, their lights revealed something unmistakable: walls. Smooth, flat, and aligned so cleanly that even laser measurements showed no deviation. Some corridors were exactly 3 meters wide, others 5, as if following a blueprint. And on certain walls, strange repeating symbols were carved: spirals, arrows, wave-like lines, markings no marine life could have made. What stunned researchers most was the ceiling. Perfect slabs of stone rested overhead, some weighing more than 50 tons, suspended as if placed there by design. No collapse. No cracks. As if someone, or something, engineered a submerged temple long before the ocean swallowed it. Sonar scans revealed that the maze extended far beyond what divers could reach, more than 40 kilometers of interconnected tunnel buried beneath layers of volcanic rock. But that created another impossibility. According to geological records, the ocean floor in this region formed millions of years ago. Long before humans existed. Long before any civilization could have carved these structures. So who built them? Inside one chamber, divers found a circular room, perfectly symmetrical, with a black stone pedestal at its center. The pedestal was covered in a glassy material, smooth as obsidian but warm to the touch, even in near-freezing water. When brought near electronic instruments, the pedestal created interference, compass needles spun, lights flickered, and sonar screens scrambled into static. Whatever this object was, it emitted a field scientists still can't identify. Even stranger was the sound. In the deepest part of the labyrinth, divers reported a low, resonant hum, a frequency that made their bones vibrate. Sonar microphones captured nothing. To machines, the labyrinth was silent. But to human ears, the stone seemed alive with a faint, pulsing echo, like a heartbeat. As more teams tried to map the structure, the ocean fought back. Equipment failures. Lost drones. Sensors shutting down as if an unseen energy disrupted all signals near the heart of the labyrinth. Some divers experienced disorientation, as if the tunnel subtly shifted or grew narrower behind them. One diver swore that when he turned around, the passage he came through had moved several meters to the left. Hallucination? Pressure? Or is the structure reacting, changing, protecting itself? The most unsettling discovery came from satellite mapping. The entire labyrinth is oriented toward a point in the ocean, a location with no land, no islands, no structures. But when researchers superimposed ancient sky maps, that point aligned perfectly with the position of a star long extinct. A star that vanished thousands of years before humans learned to write. Was this a sanctuary? A message? A map carved into the earth when the oceans were still young? Or could it be something older, remnants of a civilization erased by time, buried beneath rising seas, waiting for someone to return? The labyrinth remains unexplored. The ocean guards its entrances fiercely. And every attempt to map it ends with more questions than answers. What sleeps beneath those silent corridors? A forgotten species? A lost world? Or a memory left behind by visitors whose origin lies far beyond our oceans, and maybe beyond our planet? In the heart of an empty desert where nothing grows and no roads lead, explorers discovered an object that changed everything, a massive stone machine half buried beneath shifting dunes. It wasn't a temple, not a tomb, not a monument. It was something different. Something mechanical. Something impossibly ancient. From above, it looked like a circular platform made of black basalt, perfectly polished, 30 meters across. But the closer researchers got, the stranger it became. The entire surface was carved with grooves, tracks, and interlocking channels, like gears and cogs frozen in time. Some channels were straight, others curved into spirals, but every line followed an exact mathematical ratio. The desert sun revealed something even more impossible: the platform's grooves were not carved. They were fused into the stone, as if the basalt had once been melted and reshaped with unimaginable precision. Even modern laser cutters failed to recreate the same smoothness. Around the platform stood 12 monolithic pillars arranged in a perfect circle, each one tilted slightly inward, as if waiting to receive something. Their tops had circular indentations, precise to the millimeter, suggesting they once held metal spheres or crystal orbs long since lost to time. The pillars were aligned not to stars visible today, but to constellations as they appeared 13,000 years ago, during a period when the desert was a fertile plain, before catastrophic climate shifts transformed it into wasteland. So who built this machine in an age when humans were supposedly primitive hunter-gatherers? The deeper archaeologists dug, the stranger the discoveries. Beneath the platform they found a series of hollow chambers, perfectly symmetrical tunnels and chambers that resonated when struck, humming at low frequencies. Some frequencies caused sand on the surface to vibrate and move into geometric patterns, as if the entire structure was designed to manipulate sound or energy. One chamber contained a smooth crystal-like object embedded in stone, impossible to remove. When researchers aimed electromagnetic scanners at it, the device malfunctioned. Compasses spun. GPS signals died. Even mechanical watches froze in place. Yet the moment they retreated, everything returned to normal. The site behaves like a dormant machine still holding a faint residual charge. But the most disturbing discovery came at night. Several researchers reported hearing a humming sound from beneath the sand, rhythmic, pulsing, mechanical. It would rise slowly, vibrate the ground beneath their feet, then fade away as if the desert itself was breathing. Cameras captured nothing. Sensors recorded no seismic activity. Yet every eyewitness described the sound the same way. It felt like something was turning on. The people who lived near this desert thousands of years ago left behind stories. They spoke of a wheel of the gods, a circle that controlled the winds and the stars. According to their legends, it was built by a race who lived before the flood, a civilization wiped out by the sky burning and the oceans rising. Some modern scholars dismiss this as mythology. Others believe it aligns with the end of the last ice age, when sea levels rose 120 meters and entire coastal civilizations vanished. So what is this desert machine? A forgotten astronomical device? A resonance chamber? A power source? A portal? Or the last remnant of a civilization erased from history long before our textbooks begin? Today, the dunes shift constantly, burying and revealing new sections of the platform as if the desert is trying to hide it again. Maybe it's better that way. Because if this machine was ever meant to turn, what exactly would it do? Hidden deep within a chain of remote mountains, far beyond any known route of ancient migration and surrounded by cliffs so treacherous that even modern climbers hesitate to approach them, explorers made a discovery that challenged everything we believe about human history, a series of colossal human faces carved directly into the sheer rock walls, rising hundreds of feet above the valley floor like silent guardians from a forgotten age. These faces were not crude or accidental outlines but astonishingly refined portraits, shaped with such precision and balance that every feature, from the sweep of the forehead to the curve of the lips, seemed sculpted by an artist with a mastery we associate only with much later civilizations. The first shock came when geologists examined the surfaces of these stone faces and realized they bore none of the telltale marks of chisels, hammers, or carving tools. There were no grooves, no strike marks, no fractures, no evidence of repeated blows. Instead, the stone appeared melted, almost softened, its edges smooth like cooled glass, as though the mountain itself had once been heated to a malleable state and molded into human likeness. Such a technique is beyond anything known in the ancient world, suggesting either a lost technology or a process we cannot yet comprehend. Even more bewildering was the identity of the faces themselves. They did not resemble any known culture from the region, nor did they match the facial structure of any population recognized in anthropology. Their features were elongated, almost serene, with high cheekbones, narrow jaws, and deep-set eyes that gazed not down into the valley, but outward, oriented precisely toward the horizon where the stars rise during specific times of the year. When archaeologists mapped their alignment, they discovered something that sent ripples of disbelief through the scientific community. Each face pointed toward a constellation, but not as those constellations appear today. Their alignment matched the night sky of 17,000 years ago, during the Late Ice Age, a time when glaciers covered much of the northern hemisphere and humanity was thought to be scattered in small nomadic bands with no ability to create monumental art. This astronomical alignment raised a stunning possibility. If the carvings are truly that old, then they belong to a chapter of human history that is missing from all textbooks, a chapter predating agriculture, writing, or settled societies. But the strangeness of the sight does not end with the faces. High-resolution satellite scanning revealed dark voids behind the cliffs, hidden chambers carved deep into the mountain, connected by passageways so straight and uniform that they resemble the corridors of engineered tunnels rather than the chaotic forms of natural caves. When explorers entered these passages, they found walls polished to a mirror-like sheen that reflected torchlight in fluid, distorted waves, as if the stone had once been shaped by heat or pressure beyond anything nature typically produces. In one of the deepest chambers, researchers found a massive stone sphere resting on a spiral-shaped pedestal carved from the same bedrock. The sphere was so perfectly smooth, so mathematically precise, that even modern machinery would struggle to recreate it. It weighed nearly 30 tons and yet balanced delicately on a single point, as if the builders understood weight distribution and equilibrium with an expertise far ahead of their time. Some explorers claimed that when they spoke in the chamber, the echoes did not return normally. Instead, the sound seemed to curve, circling the sphere before dissolving into a low hum that vibrated through their bones. What civilization created these faces and these chambers? Why do they align with constellations from an age when humans were supposedly too primitive to build anything at such a scale? And why does the entire complex feel less like a monument carved by human hands and more like a message left behind, a warning, a memory, or perhaps a record of beings who saw the sky not as a distant mystery but as a map they had already traveled? Even today, the mountain faces remain untouched by restoration efforts, partly because of their remote location and partly because no one knows how they were made in the first place. They stand there still, gazing toward the stars that once guided their creators, silent stone witnesses to a story that may forever remain buried between the peaks and the heavens. Deep within a dense and ancient forest, untouched by roads and guarded by layers of tangled vines, towering monoliths stand silently among the trees, massive stone pillars rising from the earth like the ribs of some forgotten giant. They were discovered only when satellite imaging detected unnatural patterns beneath the canopy, shapes too straight and too symmetrical to be the work of nature. When explorers finally reached them, cutting through thorns and mist, they realized they had stepped into a place where the laws of sound and stone seemed to merge into something entirely unknown. Each monolith stood at least 8 meters tall, carved from a type of stone not found anywhere within hundreds of miles. The surfaces were impossibly smooth and cool to the touch, even under the burning sun, as if they held a quiet, internal coldness. But what truly unnerved the researchers was not their size or their craftsmanship, it was their behavior. When the wind passed through the forest, even lightly, the monoliths began to hum. A low vibration, gentle at first, then growing into a resonant tone that drifted through the trees like the breath of an enormous instrument. The sound was not chaotic. It was structured. Harmonized. Every pillar produced a different pitch, and together they formed haunting chords that felt both purposeful and ancient. Tests soon revealed that these tones were not random wind effects. The monoliths were arranged in a perfect acoustic pattern, a circle with specific distances between pillars designed to amplify, reflect, and merge sound waves. When a researcher struck one with the flat of his palm, the entire grove responded, every pillar singing in unison, producing a deep, layered resonance that vibrated through the ground and into the body. Some people described feeling their heartbeat change. Others reported a strange clarity of mind, as if the sound reached into parts of consciousness normally untouched. The most perplexing mystery was the stone itself. When samples were taken, they showed a crystalline structure unlike any recorded geological formation. The stone was not natural, or at least, not from that region. It behaved like a hybrid of mineral and metal, capable of resonating at frequencies far beyond any known ancient instrument. Some pieces even emitted faint electromagnetic pulses when struck, suggesting the monoliths were once part of a larger system, perhaps a communication array, a ceremonial device, or something even more complex. At night, the forest grew impossibly quiet, and the monoliths fell silent as if sleeping. But when the moon rose high enough to shine through the branches, the pillars began to glow with a dull silver sheen, reflecting moonlight in thin, wavering bands. Explorers standing among them reported a sensation of being watched, as though the monoliths themselves held a presence, a memory of whoever had placed them there long before the forest grew around them. And in the soft lunar glow, faint markings became visible, long, looping lines carved into the stone, spiraling inward like the pattern of sound waves frozen in rock. The arrangement of the pillars matched no known culture. There were no nearby settlements, no artifacts, no remains, no tools. It was as if the builders erected their structures deep in the wilderness and then vanished without leaving a trace. Radiocarbon dating of the surrounding soil suggested the monoliths were at least 8,000 years old, older than most known civilizations, older than agriculture in many parts of the world, and built at a time when humanity should not have understood acoustics, harmonic resonance, or crystalline engineering. What purpose did these singing stones serve? Were they instruments designed for ritual? Ancient communication devices sending signals across distances? Healing structures meant to alter the mind and body through vibration? Or something altogether different, a technology of sound created by a culture whose identity has become lost beneath the growth of trees and the passage of time? The forest of singing monoliths remains almost untouched today, partly because of its remote location and partly because researchers fear disturbing something they cannot yet understand. When the wind blows through the trees and the pillars awaken in their mournful song, the sound carries far across the valley, as if calling to someone, or something, that may one day return. Far beyond the edges of mapped territory, in a windswept plain where the land rolls like a frozen ocean, explorers reported seeing a tower rising from the ground, a tall, narrow structure shaped like an ancient obelisk, black as shadow and smooth as polished glass. But there was something deeply wrong about it. When approached from the east, the tower stood clearly on the horizon, cutting the sky like a blade. When approached from the west, it was also visible, looming silently above the grasslands. But from the north or south, it disappeared. Not hidden. Not concealed. Simply gone, as if it never existed at all. At first, no one believed the explorers' accounts. But when survey teams arrived, they confirmed the impossible. The tower was visible only when viewers stood along a single axis, as though it existed in one dimension but not the others. Instruments detected no structure when scanning from the side. Drones sent from the north flew through empty air, but drones sent from the east collided with an invisible surface and crashed. The tower existed and didn't exist simultaneously, depending entirely on the direction of approach. When finally reached from its visible angle, the tower's surface revealed another anomaly. It was made of a material colder than the surrounding air, absorbing heat so completely that frost formed around its base even under a burning sun. The stone, if it was stone at all, contained no grain, no cracks, no tool marks. Instead, it reflected light in strange ways, bending it slightly, making the world behind it shimmer like a heat mirage. But the most unnerving feature was a vertical seam running from the tower's base to its peak. It looked like a door, seamless, perfect, almost invisible. When touched, the seam vibrated with a deep, resonant hum that traveled through the bones rather than the ears. It felt as though the structure was alive, sensing the presence of anyone who approached. Researchers set up camp and began studying the tower's behavior. At night, something extraordinary happened. When the moon rose, the tower's surface shimmered with faint patterns, like ripples of liquid silver flowing across black glass. These patterns formed shapes, looping geometric symbols, spirals, angled lines, that moved in synchronized sequences. The symbols resembled neither language nor mathematics familiar to any culture, yet they appeared deliberate, intentional, almost instructional. During one of the nights, an archaeologist noticed that the symbols aligned perfectly with star positions at that exact hour, forming a celestial map that shifted as the sky rotated. It was as if the tower communicated with the stars, mirroring their movement, syncing itself with the heavens in real time. The next revelation came unexpectedly. A team placed a mirror facing the tower, reflecting its surface from the invisible direction, and through the reflection, the tower appeared clearly, visible only inside the mirror's frame. Yet when someone reached out behind the mirror to touch the air where the reflection showed the tower, their hand passed through nothing but emptiness. Reality did not match reflection. The structure existed fully only in one direction, partially in reflection, and not at all from the rest of the compass. As days passed, the tower began to exhibit stronger reactions to human presence. When a researcher placed his palm on the reflective surface, the patterns on the tower intensified, pulsing with brighter light. Moments later, the seam down the tower's center warmed slightly, almost imperceptibly, as though something behind the surface stirred in response. Instruments recorded fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, tiny distortions in the air, and faint tremors beneath the ground. Local legends, though few, speak of a pillar that watches the sky, a structure said to appear only to those who come with true direction. Some stories claim the tower marks the place where travelers could step between worlds, moving not across the land but through it. Others describe it as a sentinel, a guardian placed long ago to observe the heavens and await the return of those who built it. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery came from the acoustic measurements. When sound waves were projected toward the tower, they returned from different coordinates than where they were aimed. As if the tower was not where it appeared to be. As if space bent or folded around it. Direction ceased to behave normally. Distance shifted subtly. The world around the tower felt like a place where the rules of reality itself weakened. Is this structure a remnant of a lost civilization with knowledge far beyond ours? A navigational beacon aligned to ancient skies? A dimensional artifact existing partially outside our world? Or a dormant mechanism waiting for a signal that has not yet come? Whatever the answer, the tower still stands on the plain, visible in one direction, invisible in all others, a silent monolith bridging the known and the incomprehensible. High in a barren plateau carved by ancient winds, a stone doorway sits half buried in the dust, a rectangular frame leading into darkness, carved with such precision that the edges are sharper than modern steel. There is no inscription, no decoration, no sign of life around it. Just the doorway, standing alone against a desolate horizon. When explorers found it, they assumed it led into an abandoned tomb or forgotten dwelling. But the moment the first person crossed the threshold, the world behind them changed in ways no one could explain. Inside the chamber, light behaved strangely. A lantern held high cast a shadow that did not fall behind the object but drifted sideways, sliding along the walls like a living thing. Dust motes floated more slowly than they should, moving through the air as if suspended in thick liquid. Every sound echoed too long, repeating softly like a whispered memory. And when someone attempted to speak, their own voice returned to them a heartbeat before their mouth finished forming the words, as if time inside the chamber lagged or leapt ahead by fragments. The room was perfectly square, each wall the same length, each corner carved at angles too exact for ancient tools. The stone surfaces were smooth, polished, and unervingly cold. But the most puzzling feature was the ceiling, a single slab of stone with no visible seams, yet shimmering faintly with a metallic sheen, as if infused with some alloy unknown to modern minerals. The ceiling reflected light strangely, bending it so that people inside the chamber appeared slightly delayed, like their own reflections were not synchronized with their bodies. When researchers placed a digital clock inside the chamber and kept another outside, they discovered something unsettling. The two clocks ticked differently. Sometimes the chamber clock gained seconds. Other times it lost them. The inconsistency was impossible. Time should not drift in unpredictable patterns, especially over such short distances. And yet, every test confirmed the same thing: the chamber operated outside normal temporal flow. More experiments were conducted. Heat dissipated more slowly inside the room, as though the air itself resisted change. Water poured onto the floor formed ripples that moved unnaturally slow, taking minutes to settle. A metal pendulum swung in uneven arcs, speeding up without reason, then slowing to a crawl. Even heartbeats behaved strangely. Those entering the chamber reported feeling as though their pulse thickened, growing heavier in their chest. The deeper they explored, the stranger the chamber became. After several visits, a research assistant stepped out of the doorway and noticed the sky had changed. Clouds he had seen earlier were gone. The sun had shifted position far more than the time spent inside should allow. According to his watch, he had been inside for only 12 minutes. According to the team outside, he had been gone for nearly an hour. The chamber was doing something to time, bending it, stretching it, compressing it, or redirecting it entirely. Ancient legends from nearby communities described a house of echoes, a place where the world's breath grows thin and the day forgets itself. Some stories claimed it was built by people who walked between the moments, a race that understood time not as a straight path but as a river they could shape. Others said the chamber was a prison, designed to trap something that could not be allowed to move freely through the world. When ground-penetrating radar scanned beneath the chamber, it detected a void, a massive cavity extending hundreds of meters into the earth, too deep and too perfectly shaped to be natural. Whatever lies beneath the chamber has never been explored. Instruments malfunction near the threshold. Ropes and drones refuse to descend beyond a certain point. Light bends and scatters. Gravity feels slightly wrong, as if the room is perched on the edge of some invisible event. Some researchers believe the chamber is a relic, a piece of technology left behind by an unknown culture that mastered the manipulation of space and time. Others fear it may be a fault line in reality, a place where the barrier between moments thins, revealing what lies beneath the flow of existence. One thing remains certain: those who enter the chamber do not experience time the same as those who remain outside. And if the chamber is only the doorway, then what lies below may hold truths humanity is not ready to confront. Far to the north, in a land where winter never loosens its grip and the sky glows with pale ribbons of drifting auroras, there lies a lake so ancient and so still that locals believe it was formed before the first humans ever walked these lands. For most of the year, the surface remains frozen solid, a sheet of ice glowing faintly blue under the long polar night. But the true mystery lies far beneath the surface, in a depth that was never meant to be disturbed. The discovery came during an unusually warm summer when a scientific team drilled deep into the ice to extract core samples. At 90 meters down, long before reaching liquid water, they began hearing faint sounds through the drill shaft. Not ice cracking. Not the moan of shifting glaciers. But voices, soft, distant, layered, as if hundreds of people whispered from far below. Some words seemed almost recognizable, but the language was unlike anything ever recorded. When microphones were lowered into the shaft, the sound intensified for a moment, then vanished entirely, replaced by absolute silence. As if the lake realized it was being listened to, and chose to stop speaking. When the drill finally broke through to the water, it revealed something impossible. Instead of murky darkness, the lake glowed from below with a strange silver-blue radiance, as if an entire world existed beneath the ice. When the first underwater camera was lowered, the team stared in disbelief. Massive structures, towering pillars, sweeping arches, geometric walls, rose from the lake bed, all made of a translucent crystal that pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat slowed by centuries of sleep. None of the structures showed any sign of erosion. They were pristine, untouched, as if frozen in time. And then the camera caught something even stranger. The crystal surfaces appeared to ripple with shadows, moving shapes that passed behind the walls, their outlines shifting like silhouettes made of smoke. But whenever the camera approached, the shapes dissolved into nothing. It was as though the lake bed held memories, not creatures, not ghosts, but impressions, echoes of movement preserved like reflections trapped inside glass. When divers finally descended into the lake, they reported hearing faint humming as soon as they approached the structures. The sound vibrated through their bodies, bypassing their ears entirely. Some described it as voices speaking all at once, too fast to distinguish. Others said it felt like standing inside a giant instrument, one that resonated not through air but through the water itself. The deeper they went, the stronger the resonance became, until their equipment began malfunctioning, lights flickered, oxygen gauges spun wildly, and cameras glitching with static. At the heart of the submerged complex, divers found a central chamber, a dome of crystal so perfectly shaped that it magnified the lake's faint light into a soft glow. Inside lay rows of tall, blade-like slabs arranged in a spiral pattern on the floor. Each slab was etched with thin, shimmering lines that pulsed faintly when approached, reacting to the diver's presence. When touched, the slabs emitted a low musical tone, like a distant choir singing through stone. Every diver heard a different melody, as if the slabs translated something deeply personal, a message tailored to each listener. The slabs were later found to store heat, electromagnetic charge, and something that behaved almost like data, though nothing modern instruments could identify. Some researchers proposed that the entire complex was an archive, not of words, but of experiences, encoded as vibration, stored within crystalline matter that could endure for tens of thousands of years. The voices, heard before drilling, may have been fragments of these stored impressions, escaping into the shaft when the ice was first pierced. Local myths speak of an age long forgotten, when the world was watched over by those who kept the echoes of time, beings who recorded the rise and fall of civilizations long before humans. They say the frozen lake was their retreat, a sanctuary built to preserve knowledge after an ancient cataclysm shattered their world. Some believe the crystal structures beneath the lake are a memory archive of a civilization erased from history. Others whisper that it is not the past that sleeps beneath the lake, but something waiting for the right moment to awaken. What lies archived beneath the frozen surface? Memories of a lost species? Records of a civilization that predates humanity? Or messages from creators who intended the world to discover their legacy only when it was ready, a readiness we may not yet possess? In a barren landscape of red earth and fractured stone, far from any known settlement or historical trail, explorers found a ring of colossal stone pillars arranged with an accuracy that rivaled the finest modern observatories. Each pillar was positioned at a calculated angle, each shadow aligned precisely with the sun during specific moments of the year. Yet when researchers attempted to map the structure, something immediately felt wrong. The alignments did not correspond to the current sky. They did not match the skies of the past. They did not match any known celestial configuration from any recorded time. It was as if the builders had calibrated the observatory to a set of stars that do not exist. The pillars themselves stood nearly 10 meters tall, carved from a dark basalt that did not originate anywhere within the surrounding region. Their surfaces were perfectly smooth, not worn by time or weather, but polished as though touched by centuries of human hands, though no fingerprints, tool marks, or traces of ancient life could be found. When sunlight struck their surfaces, the pillars reflected a faint iridescent shimmer, almost like oil on water, bending the light in soft, shifting hues. At the heart of the observatory lay a circular depression carved into the ground, its edges lined with small crystalline stones arranged in a spiraling pattern. When sunlight passed through the gaps between the pillars, beams of light converged on the center of this spiral, creating a luminous symbol that glowed for only a few seconds before fading. The symbol did not match any ancient writing system. It resembled a star map, but of a sky no human eye had ever witnessed. The first breakthrough came when astronomers realized the pattern was not meant for Earth's skies at all. The geometry seemed to depict constellations as they would appear from a completely different vantage point, as though the builders were mapping the heavens from another location in the galaxy. The pillars marked angles not of our sun, but of gravitational sources far beyond, aligning perfectly with points in deep space where distant stars once shone millions of years ago before collapsing into silence. This discovery led to even more unsettling questions. How could an ancient civilization have known the positions of stars long dead? How could they have mapped celestial structures invisible to the human eye? And why would they build an observatory here, in a place devoid of water, life, or any sign of habitation? When ground-penetrating radar examined the area beneath the observatory, the mystery deepened. Hidden 50 meters below the surface was a vast chamber filled with metallic spheres arranged in a perfect grid. Each sphere emitted faint electromagnetic pulses, synchronized like the ticking of an enormous, ancient clock. The pulses were not random. They followed complex patterns, sequences that resembled coded messages. When the spheres were analyzed, they were found to be completely hollow yet impossibly heavy, as if made from a material denser than any known metal. Their surfaces vibrated at a frequency just below the threshold of human hearing, a frequency that made the earth hum softly underfoot, creating a sense of unease, as though the ground itself was alive with memory. Some researchers proposed that the observatory was never meant to track Earth's sky. Instead, it was a communication device, a beacon built to send messages outward, far beyond our solar system, perhaps to contact a lost homeland or signal a return. Others suggested it was a navigational instrument, a map for travelers who came from a distant world and needed a way to realign their path by using the geometry of the universe itself. Local legends, rare and fragmented, speak of the watchers who measured the darkness, beings who descended in the age before the first ancestors and taught the land how to listen to the stars. They say the pillars were erected not for humans but for those who walked with the sky, and that when the right star returns to the vantage point, the observatory will awaken once more. For now, the structure remains silent. The pillars cast their shadows across a landscape that hides more than it reveals. And beneath the earth, the spheres continue their rhythmic pulse, waiting, counting, marking a cosmic time we have yet to understand.